And welcome everyone to another exciting episode of The Energy That Surrounds Us. I'm your host, Michael, and I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. And I have no idea why I'm starting the show this way, but I'm just going to run with it. Now, tonight I have a fun guest who, and I'll be honest, we've been laughing backstage getting ready for this, so I know y'all are in for a great treat, and I'm so excited and so cannot wait to get into all that we have to share with you. And I'm going to note that you'll notice the headlines are a little different tonight. We decided to have a little fun with it being a Tuesday night in November. Why not? Why not have some fun? So, with that being said, I am going to turn it over to my amazing guest, who I know y'all are going to love, the one, the only, the amazing, so funny, Amber Long.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm with Illuminate the Beyond, and I'm a paranormal investigator.
Yeah,
Yay!
let's not make it sound like an AA meeting.
Right?
I almost was like, hi,
Oh,
Amber. No. See, I told y'all we were going to be having fun tonight.
I know. I told you I'm great at this too, right?
Oh, you are. So, for those who may not be fully aware, do you want to share a little bit about Illuminate the Beyond and how you became a paranormal investigator?
Oh, well, it's Illuminate the Beyond is a group of like-minded people. It consists of me, which my name's Amber, but they call me Little Amber within the group, because it also consists of Phillip, and another Amber, which is his wife. And then we have April and Kelsey and Ash. And we are all together, and we just love getting together and going to different locations and hunting the paranormal. And I actually got into this a long time ago. I've been into it since I was young. I guess from hearing ghost stories from my dad and going to the library and picking out ghost stories and that kind of stuff. And I actually used to play games and stuff with my sister. We would play, the little telepathic games that you would do with the stars and the circle and the square and all that, where you would sit back to back with each other.
Right.
And we would do that. But we would make it to where we would tally everything that we would get right and wrong. And we did that for years, to where actually when she moved to Florida, I could know when something would happen with her. Like if she was having a bad day or something, it was like I knew something was up, and I would like call her and be like, "You all right?" And she would be like, "Oh my gosh, I was about to call you. I just had a bad day. This and this and this happened." So I don't know if that made our intuition stronger or if it was just we were sisters. I'm not sure what happened, but I think something happened with just playing those games and that kind of stuff when we were little. So we also held seances in our basement when we were little. My dad used to get mad about that because we had candles on the pool table. So dad would try to play pool later and hit candle wax on the pool table, and oops.
Oh, yeah, he loved that.
Yeah, he was a little bit mad about that one, but it was fun with us.
I wonder if that helped or hurt the pool game, having a seance on that table.
Who knows? I don't even know what we were conjuring. We were just doing it.
Yeah, and I gotta admit, when I had to read that, I will admit, 3 or 4 times to see if I actually was reading that right. You wrote in your bio, "We did seances as kids."
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did. It was actual things that we did. I guess leave it to the books in the library that we found and said, "Well, this seems like a good idea."
So, did anything ever happen while you were doing one of those?
Not that I remember, but the house is haunted now, if that makes sense. I mean, like, when you go into that house and stuff at night, like, there are legit footsteps up and down the stairs when you're just laying there. I've had one of the bedroom doors, I was just sitting in it, and I was in the house by myself, and the doorknob would literally shake back and forth. So, I mean, weird stuff has happened in that house. So, who knows what it is. So
And the paranormal investigator in me is like, was that happening before you started the seances or only after the seances?
Right? Well, this happened after, because it happened when I was older when this stuff was going on. Like, it happened to my, kid when he was younger, and he was in the room and that kinda stuff, but, like, we did the seances when I was probably about 7 or 8, so I was a kid when that happened. So
Oh, but things can sit and lay dormant. So,
That's true. That's true. It could have always been there, who knows?
yeah, you could have just provided the ritual space for it to wake up
Right.
down the road. Be like,
That's
you
true.
started recharging the battery.
That's true. I could have, because who knows what we were doing,
So,
just lighting candles.
did you go actually through ritual and doing all of that and doing these, or did you just light candles, set them somewhere, and say, "Okay, we're doing this"?
It was more like lighting candles and trying to talk to something. It was just like that. So,
And
it wasn't really ritualistic type thing, because I
well, I
don't think
hate to
we
break it
even knew
to you.
how.
Yeah, hate to break it to you, but it was ritualistic. You were opening doorways and apparently
I'm sure
never
we were.
closing them.
Right? Leave
Oh,
it to a couple kids not knowing what they were doing.
so did friends ever come over to join in on this, or was it just always you two?
It was just always us 2.
Oh,
Yep.
this is wow. I'm just picturing Friday night or a Saturday night going, hey, let's have a seance. Why not?
Yeah. This is what happens when, you ban TVs from kids and that kinda stuff. You're like, "We're bored. Let's go do this."
Yeah, and so I gotta admit, I'm a little curious when you say your dad would tell ghost stories. Are we talking about like sitting around the campfire type ghost stories, or like, okay, so I was in this room and this experience happened to me, and we're like that kind of story?
Well, he told us some of his experiences that he had when he was little. So, like, there was one that, if I can tell it correctly, because it's been a long time since I heard it, but him and I think it might have been his cousins, but it was him and a group of people went into an abandoned house. And he said that, of course, they went in and they went upstairs, and they were just kind of messing around like young kids do. And then when they went downstairs, he said there was this wooden rocking chair in there, and when they went back downstairs, there was an axe sticking in the middle of the wooden rocking chair, and it was rocking back and forth. So he said it scared them to death because there was nobody else in the house but them, and they were all upstairs, so they ran out the house and left. So it's just little stories like that that he would tell us.
Yeah.
So
And I totally can see why that would scare, you know, anybody at any age. Well, it looks
Right.
like your, teammates are in the house.
Yay. Aw. Love you guys.
So, yeah, I'm picturing now how I would react to seeing a chair and coming back to that chair and there's an axe in it.
Right.
The fact it's moving is mute at this point. The axe is the focus point. It's like there's an axe that came out of nowhere.
Right.
Man,
So, yeah, so it scared all of them and they went running out the house. I don't blame them. So,
um, I'm sure it scared you too when you were hearing it.
well, yeah, but then of course, I guess it piqued an interest because then we were like, "Ooh, let's go do the same stuff."
Yeah, maybe he was training you. I mean, maybe he was wanting to make you like a Winchester.
Yeah, maybe. But then he stayed away from that kind of stuff for a while. But I actually just this year he went on a ghost trip with us, so I got him back into it.
Ooh, what was that like?
That was actually really fun. It was really interesting to bring my dad with me on a trip and let him see what all we actually do on it, and to get him to sleep on the floor in the middle of a abandoned school and that kind of stuff at 70 years old and everything. But he was really interested in what we were doing. Like, where, us girls are like, we're pretty sensitive and kind of pick up on some of the energy and stuff that's around us. Like, he was sitting there going like, well, how do you know that? Like, how can you feel this type of thing? Why does it feel like you just kind of got hit in the face? Like, so he was like really interested with that. And then he was interested with the gadgets and everything that would just go off randomly, and how we would ask questions. And he was just pretty interested in all of it. So it was really fun to take him and show him.
Well, that's cool. And so, what was he like? Feeling like was like the most impressive piece of equipment that he was like, man, I wish I had this in my day when we were doing it.
Oh, I think he was really impressed with the I I honestly don't know what it's called because I'm horrible with equipment, but it's the recorder where you use the headphones and it makes everything louder, where you could pick up all the sounds and stuff that's so much louder in the room. You know what I'm talking about? I think it's like a Zoom or something like that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, and I've only seen it on TV. I didn't know I haven't met anybody that actually has it, so I'm impressed. But yeah, I've only ever heard of the headphones for the Estes method.
Yeah, we have that too.
Oh,
But
they're
yeah,
helping you out.
we do the live
Live
listening.
listening.
See? Yeah. Thank you guys. They have to help me out occasionally. I don't know her equipment stuff.
No, it's good to have a team, and it's good to have people like that. And so I'm trying to picture too, what the conversation was like with your dad before and after. Like, how different was he, or was he like, oh yeah, it's just like when I was a kid.
No, it was really different because, like, when he was a kid, he always like, he believed in it, but he kinda wrote it off a lot of times. Like, he actually lived on a farm as well that was haunted. This actually just popped into my head. There was old farmhouse he lived in, and he told me there was this one time that he was by himself at the house, and he went out into the woods to, like, mess around and play and stuff that he usually does, and he heard his mom calling him. So he thought it was like dinner time to come in, and he goes back into the house, but nobody's there. But he swore he heard his mom calling his name. And so it's just random things like that. But of course, he wrote it off. He was like, maybe I just heard something. But after the experience with me, he was like, you guys are, you guys got something. Like, there is something out there, So it's been a little bit different because I know I guess he's really wanting to believe in life after death and that kind of stuff because like I talk about my sister and my mother within like the last 4 years, we've had a lot of loss. Like my sister passed away, my mother passed away, all of
Oh,
those
my
things
condolences.
within. Yeah. Thank you. It's been, so after those things has happened to him, he's really kind of gotten, you know, wanting to search for that, and he's seen it, and he's seen it with the experiences and stuff of going to the places. So,
That's a great gift to give him. And
mhm.
I know from experience growing up in the metaphysics, we'd go to channeling circles or mediumship circles, I guess they call them, I guess, or galleries, whatever term I guess the host uses. And my mom's dad, when his wife passed, my grandmother passed, knew we went to these. And when he was visiting, he's like, hey, can we try one of these? And he went, and every time he visited, he would want to go and do one of those. And so it was like, it's a great gift, I think, to give people.
Mhm. It really is.
But yeah, at the same time, I can't help but feel like in your shoes going, here's an OG, original ghost hunter telling us, hey, props to you. You're doing the right things the right ways. So that had to feel
Right.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Like it does, and I like, bringing, you know, inexperienced people, especially like close family members and stuff, into it to let them experience what I'm experiencing, and let them know what I'm doing so they can see it for themselves instead of
Yeah,
them just thinking, oh, she's out here in abandoned buildings and getting cold and that kind of stuff.
yeah, and I can't help but picturing like your family, especially your dad, when it comes time to do EVP work, where you spend like 15 minutes to an hour just randomly chatting to the air
Yeah.
and being like feeling totally composed and being like, and this is normal. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, we do this a lot, several times.
Yeah. And sometimes you get nothing, and sometimes that one little voice will come through, and then you're excited about that one little voice that comes through.
Yeah. It kind
So
of trumps the entire night. It's like you could have shadows walking by, but you're like, we got a clear Class A voice over here. And everyone's like,
right,
well, what about Ghost Man over here? Do you realize we have a voice?
right. Exactly. There's something about just getting that, like, on a recording that's right there, It's
Yeah,
it's like that little bit of proof, just that little bit. That's so exciting.
it is. And I remember the first two that I got, I had to send it to like three people to verify it because I was like, I'm not gonna, I don't want to put this out there, but is it what it is? And I'm like, after the three people were like, yes, it is what you said it was. And I was like, okay. And it's like you had this euphoric, like, I've made it, like I am now, I can call myself investigator kind of motif, and you're like, everybody, look at what I got.
Right. And that's what's so good about our team and everything, because we can literally, if somebody gets something, we can send it to everybody on the team and be like, do you hear this? Are you hearing what I'm hearing? What exactly do you hear? Because we're all hearing all these different tones and stuff. So that's what's really good about it.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm sure your team's the same way. Is like, so my first EVP was a woman saying hi, and I was the only guy I think there that night with a bunch of women, but they were in another room. And then they walked by a little bit after the EVP, but I never reacted to it. So it's not, everyone's like, yeah, it clearly wasn't them, because if they had said hi, I would have said hi back or been like, yeah, are you guys moving on? What's going on?
right.
But the voice goes hi, and I just keep panning the camera and keep going. So they were like, that's definitely EVP. And the night before, actually, I got an EVP of a guy saying pause it. And I was like, I'm sitting there telling everybody, oh my God, this was a Vietnam World War II base that was abandoned. And they know the term pause it. And somebody finally goes, they had the ability to do recordings and pausing during Vietnam. So you probably got one of those. And I was like, good point.
Right.
But it was still cool that it was a male voice and it wasn't my voice. And I was the only
Right.
male with two women.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And it was in the middle of a cadence. Like they were wanting us to pause the cadence that we were playing.
That that's really cool.
Yeah. So what's
Oh,
been like some of your really cool, like undeniable evidence in your opinion? Not everybody else's, just yours.
um, oh gosh. I'm trying to think. Ooh, because there's so much that we could use. And I'm not sure if you could call it like undeniable evidence, but there's like some really cool stuff that's happened. Like we were at this one's just kind of cool. We were at Trans Allegheny, and I was actually under Estes method. And somehow I was with Phillip and Amber, and one of them just randomly started singing. And right after, I think it might have been Phillip, and right after he stopped singing, I started humming. And they were like, well, that's strange. So then they sang again. And after they stopped singing, I hummed again. And we did this like 3 different times. And then I took off the Estes and I'm like, all it's doing is humming, you know? And they were like, no, it was going with it. This is so cool. And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. You know, so it's kind of weird things like that has happened. Um,
Yeah.
we did, let's see. I did get this one really cool picture. This was way beforehand. It was probably my first investigation, but it was me by myself. So I went to this like little cemetery that was known to be haunted. Um, it's like 50 minutes from my house. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go do this because why not? It's fun. And I went to this graveyard by myself, and all I had was a cell phone. That's it. One cell phone. And I started snapping pictures. And I stood there maybe 20 minutes is about all I could take, because somehow the wind just started picking up. And this graveyard's like off the side of the road. There's no parking spots. There's nothing. And maybe 100 graves at tops. And I just started snapping pictures. The wind picked up, and then I started hearing snapping of like twigs. And I was like, okay, I guess I need to go because this is weird and I don't like being by myself. So I got in my car, and as soon as I got in my car, my cell phone died. Just died randomly. Full battery, everything just would not, like, it shut off, would not turn back on. It actually did not turn back on until I was back at where I lived. It finally turned back on. Still full battery. So when I turned it back on, and I didn't charge it or anything, it was just full battery. It just wouldn't turn on. It was weird. And I started going through the pictures, and, I always take the 3 pictures in the same spot. Well, in this one picture, because I didn't get much of anything, but in this one picture, it looks like there was a little girl in it walking across the fence line that had on a brown skirt and a white blouse. And it was in a different area each time. So it looked like she was walking across the fence line. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. And I tried to go back and was like, well, was it brown leaves or something in the trees? I'm not positive, but it was just absolutely strange.
Was it the
So,
last batch of photos too?
yeah, toward the end. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking the reason the phone died is they were like, okay, you got what you needed. You're done.
Leave.
It's not safe to be out here any longer. You're not paying
Right.
attention to the wind. So they're like,
Right.
yeah. And then you're safe at home, and it's like, ding, back. It goes back to life.
Right. I mean, it was just crazy. It was random. But it was a really cool experience. And that was really actually my first investigating experience. And of course, I did it by myself because why not?
I'm guilty of it.
Right.
I categorize it as a scouting investigation, so I don't
Right.
get in trouble by other investigators for investigating on your own.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I
Exactly.
wasn't investigating, I was scouting.
Right. Yeah, just getting a feel for it,
Yeah, I'm like, how do we know if we want to go there? You got to test it out first.
Right. Exactly. It was a cool little spot, so
So I'm curious, when you talk about doing these road trips, are you the type of road trip where you're like, oh, there's a cemetery, pull over and check it out, and you're like, if I'm late, I'm late, or are you, okay, I got so many hours to get there, I'm going nonstop, only stop for gas if I have to, you
Well,
know?
it depends on who I ride with, because usually I don't drive. So, if I ride with Amber and Phillip, we're stopping by some cool antique stores and, picking out some really neat stuff like that. But I've rode with Ash before, and we randomly found some awesome, cool cemetery off the side of the road. And we stopped there and took some pictures at some random cemetery that we found at the top of the hill before. So I mean, either or. I think all of us are kind of that way. That's like, oh, this looks pretty cool. We need to stop here. I guess if we just get the feel for it that we need to stop there, we'll stop there.
No, that's
So,
cool. And I just asked because I'm the type of, I'll pull over and check if I feel like, yeah, pull over, let's check it out. And even if you don't get anything, it's still really cool to walk through. I feel like to walk through and just talk to all the people that are there and
right.
just acknowledge them and move on. And, if you don't get any EVPs, I'm like, yeah, so, it's not the end of the world. Still was a
Oh,
fun
no.
trip.
Exactly. And it's just cool to see different designs of headstones and the history and things like that. Like it's really awesome. Like I just find that stuff neat and fascinating anyways.
I
So,
wonder if you're kind of like I am when I'm walking through and I'll be like, "Oh, Private so and so of the Confederate Army," and I look at the date, and if it's like past 1865, I'm like, "Oh, I'm so glad you survived, the war and got to come back and, you know, enjoy the remainder of your life
oh yeah.
and move on." And if they died during, the wartime, I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry you didn't make it back, but thank you for, making the ultimate sacrifice."
Oh
And
yeah.
depending on which side it was on, like if it's like Civil War, depending on which side, if it was Union side, I'm like, no, you didn't die in vain. They did win. And if it's the Confederates, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry you lost, and you didn't get to see the outcome, but in the end, we came back as a full nation, so it worked in
Right.
the end.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, because I don't want it to feel like, I'm not the type to go, being northern born and go, yeah, you guys lost, haha,
Right.
and move on. I'm like, no, I'm still going to be respectful. I mean, you died in combat,
Exactly.
I'm not going to hold
Exactly.
against you that you were on the opposing side.
Right.
And I'm in
Ex-
Texas, or I'm in the South, so I'm like, yeah, I ain't saying nothing against a Confederate soldier. No way.
yeah. Me too. I'm in South too. So.
Yeah, I'm in Texas area.
Okay. I'm in Kentucky, so.
Oh, okay. Is Kentucky still considered the South though?
yeah, pretty much. We got a lot of rural areas. I'll try to pronounce it.
No, I'm just laughing because I'm picturing Tennessee went, Virginia went, but I think Kentucky was on the fence, but I think stayed.
Yeah.
Although they did send troops, so I'll give
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I think Kentucky's South.
Yeah, you don't mess with Kentucky.
No. no, you don't.
No,
But
and
there's a
being
lot of
in,
haunted places here too. So hey.
yeah, and I'm kind of curious. I'm not sure where in Kentucky, and I'm not gonna have you blurt out your home on air. But one thing I found curious is Kentucky. That is Daniel Boone's state that he created. So, do you
hmm
ever go around and investigate areas around him? And
He left.
I did the same thing. My thumb, I went to post a comment up while I was sharing, and I hit the button. And I was like, not again.
I was like, you left, but you came back.
Yeah. I with you illuminate the beyond rut row. It's exactly right. I need to tape or break that button. So I was gonna ask is, have you ever come across like anything related to Boone?
um, n- no, not that I know of. But we do go to a place that's out in Van Lear, Kentucky, which is Coal Miners Museum. So
Oh yeah,
that's where like Loretta Lynn and stuff is from. So
yeah.
like that whole area. And that place is pretty cool. I really like it there. So, oh, Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so God, I'm trying to recompose myself after disappearing again. Hold on. God.
That's why
And
I can't
full
hit buttons.
transparency, I told her that that happened on an episode. Little did I know I was foreshadowing it happening again, apparently.
It's all right.
No, but so you didn't watch any cartoons or anything growing up, like any of the paranormal, like Scooby Doo or any of that?
Oh, I did.
Oh, okay.
I watched some, especially like the old like Ghostbusters cartoon and
Oh,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I used to watch that. That was fun.
I was like, because I remember you. I was thinking of that. I remember you saying this is what happens when you take and ban television, and I was like, oh, so don't ask about television because
No,
they didn't watch it.
that was just when we were grounded.
Oh, oh yeah,
Yeah,
those fun times.
yeah, you get grounded and you can't watch TV or play the Nintendo or anything like that, then you hold seances. Yay.
I bet your parents are watching this and going, they probably would have been better off if we didn't ground them and left them the television.
Probably. We were either doing that or I remember sitting in the kitchen with my sister and taking spoons out and trying to bend them like with our minds and that kind of stuff, sitting there staring at them for hours thinking we could bend it. So that was always fun too.
You're gonna laugh, but I had a guest on who actually does bend spoons.
See? It's possible. So we tried for
She's
hours.
like, yeah, she had like all types of spoons, forks, utensils that were bent. And she's like, yeah, this was all done by the mind. And I'm like, wow. And she teaches
See?
people how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, her name's
See?
Zenka Caro, if you want to look her up. Zenkacaro.
I'm gonna have to, because I tried for years.
But yeah, I've done that too. Look at a spoon and being like, this should bend. Why isn't it bending?
Right.
And then I've often wondered though, if you bend it, can you bend it back to normal and it still work, or is it forever
For,
compromised?
right, forever bent that way. Like I need that spoon actually. That was my last one.
That or meld it in and make bring back the spork?
Oh gosh. Oh, the spork, they were great.
You know, I have to say the spork and the crazy straw are the two things from my youth that I'm like so need to make a comeback.
Right? Oh, the crazy straw was fun, but it took forever for your drink to come up.
I know, but at least you were entertained watching it go through the loops and twists or whatever it had to do.
Right? It was entertaining because I remember watching it several times. And it was. And the crazier it was, the better it was.
Yeah, I can never remember if you stopped how fast it would drain out to where you were like, "Oh man, now I got to go through all that again," or it was like faster the more you used it.
Right? Oh, man, and then it would back down slowly, and you're like, "No, come back."
It's like, wait, or you'd learn that you could put your tongue on the tip and it would hold until you were ready, and you're like, ah,
Take
you'd
a deep
learn to time
breath,
it.
right? Take a deep breath, try again. Oh, man, that's
So
hilarious.
yeah, so what are some other things like from your childhood that you're like, man, I wish modern generations had this, because I feel like the new generation of kids and everything are so into the tech and all of that that they don't have the appreciation like we do for some of the old things. And like, you actually learned, little did we know, from what we were doing, we actually learned life lessons.
Right. I can honestly say, just from looking at my kids in school, I wish they would bring back paperwork instead of doing everything on the computer constantly, because my kids' handwriting is atrocious.
Are they even teaching handwriting anymore?
No, they don't even teach cursive or anything like they used to. So,
You know, I
yeah.
have a theory about that. And full disclosure, we were laughing about how we like to do have theories about things before we started the show. So,
Yeah.
but
Your theory.
so my theory is, when you look at the documents like Constitution, Declaration, all of those that are like frameworks that are like supposed to inspire us to learn and do more,
Mhm.
are in cursive in old
They
language. Yeah,
are.
we don't teach the old language, but you can surmise what the words mean through context. But if you can't read the cursive, you can't read the document.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, get rid of the document. Can't read it no more. Could
Well,
be.
yeah, I think that's where they're trying to head to, and I'm hoping that'll be put to a rest, because those are like a couple of documents that definitely don't need to be right.
No, not at all. And I mean, I'm still trying to teach mine how to do it, especially like signatures and that kind of thing. Like, know how to write your name in cursive and that kind of stuff. And it's just, whew, it's so bad.
Yeah, and I actually have a funny story about doing signatures. Is I was approached for something, and they were like, "Yeah, there's a potential, could be on TV." And I was like, "Okay." And my first thought was, "Well, what is the one thing everybody on TV does?" Well, they sign autographs. And
Hmm.
so, like, that night, I went and I started writing and practicing and going, "So, what's my signature gonna look like?" And I was like, and they were all bland. And then I was like, I went back and I looked at the cursive documents, like the founding fathers and everything, and I'm like, they have like these elaborate letters, and then there's like dots around, or symbols. So I started putting symbols on the end, or started adding like loops and like writing through something. And I'm like, finally came up with like two, and I was like, these would be really cool autographs. And then it fell through, and I was like, you know what? I'm still gonna keep it and turn
Yeah.
it into my signature.
Yeah. Might as well keep it. You never know, you know?
But yeah,
I
I
love
mean,
it.
it's like, being able to sign your name. There's like something empowering about that, and making it whatever you want. It reflects your artistic style, I think.
It does. It does. And I don't know. It makes you you. You can make it all unique and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I
So,
love it.
what are some of the theories that are floating around in the brainiac, known as Umber?
Oh my gosh. Mine are nuts. Um, I don't know. I got a major one right now that's probably all about I don't know. It's all about manifestation. That's probably my biggest one that I have right now.
Ooh,
Um, yeah,
we can
it
go there.
about manifestation.
I'm metaphysics. You're metaphysics. That's our repertoire.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
like how much of spirits possibly are manifested just through telling of stories or things like that. It's a possibility because the manifestation is telling something over and over and over and over again. So, is it a possibility that some of the spirits themselves are possibly manifested?
You know, I can say yes, and I can take it a step further and say that when in metaphysics, so when you do a clearing like over a person or an issue,
Hmm.
and you do the clearing of it, the second you bring up that name, you invite it back in. So it
Right,
returns. So as you're telling the story over and over, you're bringing it back each time. So yeah, you're
right,
definitely manifesting it.
right. So you see what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
you could do all sorts of stuff because if you take it as in um like if you take it into the real world, like with Hollywood, and you say that person's name over and over and over again in Hollywood, that's what keeps them famous. But if you don't say it, then they die out and they're no longer there. So it's kind of like if we like one of my biggest questions is, you know how everybody's saying a lot of things are demonic and that kind of stuff. So if we ever stop saying things were demonic, would that become a mythology, or would they cease to exist if we just stop doing it? Are
So
those things manifested?
yeah,
It's just
so
weird questions.
demonic, that's a touchy one because in my opinion, I've seen a lot of investigators go somewhere and they're like, "Oh, the energy is real heavy here, it's really thick. There must be something demonic here." And I'm like, "No, there's nothing demonic here. It's just a heavy, thick energy.
Exactly.
You're misidentifying
Exactly.
it." And so therefore, I think if you ever came across anything demonic, you would never even know it because you're calling everything demonic.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
So
if you were a butthead in life, what makes you think that you weren't a butthead still, if you're still
right.
here, you know? So it's kind of like, and another thing is, why would they be hanging out in abandoned places?
Yeah.
I
And
just don't quite understand that. I mean,
and your team has a message for you.
yeah, I think they're trying to manifest.
No, but I, I like to sit people down and I go, okay, well, this is my take on how to identify some stuff and why it gets misidentified. And I go, so you take a child who's in school and he doesn't understand, say, multiplication, struggles with it. All the
Mhm.
one kid that gets it looks over and is like, man, you must be stupid that you can't get this.
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm not stupid. But then two more kids say, oh, you're stupid because you don't get this. Three more students, you're stupid because you don't get this. Well, what's the kid start to think? Well, everybody else can't be wrong, so maybe I am stupid. because I
Right.
don't get this. Now you take a spirit who, like you were saying, had a bad attitude in life, has a bad attitude in the afterlife,
Yeah.
and some investigative team comes in and goes, "Oh my god, there's a demon here." He's like, "Where?"
Right.
And then another team comes in and says and experiences him and is like, "Oh my god, there's a demon here."
Right.
And another team comes. Finally, that spirit's gonna go, "You know what? As much of a dick as I am now, they want me to be demonic, I'll give them demonic." And they'll start acting like what you're asking for.
Right. They pretty much manifested one because they told it over and over, that's what you are.
Yeah. So I'm
So,
like, that's why I say be careful what you're identifying because, yeah, I mean, what makes you think what happens in the real world doesn't happen in the afterlife as well?
exactly. Uh, perfect.
See, I told you I could help you out with your theories.
For sure.
Although
Yeah,
I
that
totally thought you were going somewhere else when you said manifest at first, honestly. I was like, "Oh, we're going to that manifest. Okay, hold on."
you could do all sorts of things with manifestation theories. It could
I
be
know.
all sorts of things. I mean, manifestation theories can go from waking up in the morning and saying you're going to have a good day over and over again and, believe you're going to have a good day. Because honestly, like, it comes down to like a belief system. So,
It does, and just like I subliminally tell every guest, it's gonna be a fun episode.
right. So
Little
they
did
get
they
it in
know,
their
I'm
head.
programming them to have a fun episode. No, I
There you
don't
go.
manipulate my guests.
Yes. And it works.
I just do it for myself. I don't do it on others. I'm putting that disclaimer out there right now.
It still works. I'll sit there and manifest it myself. Throw it through my head constantly.
Yeah. So
So,
do you feel like, and this is one of those moments I was talking about. So transparency, disclosure. She'd mentioned this behind the stage, or not behind the stage, before we came on live. There is no stage, people. We're not at a rally. But you had mentioned having a scientific metaphysical background. So do you feel like that makes your experiences in the paranormal easier or just different from other people's experiences?
um, probably different because I battle with myself a lot of times. It's a constant battle in my head because it's logical and then it's metaphysical. Because I don't say this a lot, but I'll go ahead and say it. Like, I'm very clairvoyant. So I see things that are not, that most people can't see. So, and, it's strange, but I can see it and it's weird. Like, let's see, this one's kind of funny. So we were at Fairfield um not that long ago, and it was a bunch of us girls and we were sitting in the men's bathroom at Fairfield, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I saw this. What it looked like was this it looks almost like static, if I can describe it that way, like a static TV, but in the figure of a man. But I couldn't make out details or anything like that. It just looked like static TV in the figure of a man. And he was slowly coming into the bathroom, but the way he walked was so weird because his legs were together and then his feet were out. And I was like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And he was coming into the bathroom like that, and he'd stop, and then he'd come a little bit further, and he stopped, and that kind of thing. And then my friend was sitting right by the doorway, Amber was, and then he came in, and then he sat down right beside her, and he crossed his legs. And then they were doing a dowsing rod session and that kind of stuff. And she was like, well, can you point to where you were in the room? And I didn't say anything at the moment. And it pointed right to where he was sitting. And I'm like, oh, that's really weird. Okay, sure. And all of a sudden, he disappears and I don't see him anymore. Like, did not see him. I don't know where he went, anything like that. He just vanished. And then she was like, okay. And then she was like, I'm going to do this again. Can you point to where you were in the room? And all of a sudden it switched and it pointed right to the urinal. So I was like, that's why he was walking like that. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking, I think he was trying to go to the bathroom, but wasn't expecting a bunch of women sitting in the
Yeah,
bathroom.
that's pretty much what happened. So then it kind of started making me thinking, like, where are we on two different like timelines? Like, is he seeing the bathroom the way that it would normally be a bathroom, but he sees a bunch of girls in it, which is weird. And we're seeing it as like an abandoned building with nobody there. So it makes you start thinking about like the time layers. Are they overlapping? Who knows? But it's kind of
Well,
strange.
I would say based on the fact that he sat down with you would not make it the residual, but more intellectual because
Right.
residual, he wouldn't care you're there. He would just walk on by, do his thing, disappear. But
Right.
the fact he sat down and was like, "What's going on here? Sorry, I really gotta go." Got off the plane. It's like, yeah, that's some intellect there.
Right. And what was funny was one of our teammates was actually standing right by the urinal, and when that happened, she was like, and she got up and left, and I was like, "Yeah, I think that's where that guy went." So, it was just a
And
funny little experience.
and it's one of those moments we don't think about, but I often will catch myself and being like, the bathroom is the last place I ever want to be taking my last breath. I'm like, I will
Right.
pull myself out of that room using against all odds just so I can be like, I died outside the bathroom, not in the bathroom.
Right. Oh my gosh. Don't wanna
But
be like Elvis.
well, I'm like, think about it. I'm like, when I think about it, I'm like, what positions or what, condition are you in a bathroom and going, this is how everyone's going to see you when they come to help you. And I'm like, that's the last thing I'm like, no, I'm like, this is not how I want to be last seen. And everyone being like, man, the last thing I remember seeing was him with his pants down and laying on the floor. That's my last memory. And it's like, oh my God, how humiliating.
Right? Oh my gosh. Exactly. Try to get yourself out of there first.
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
you can kill me in a closet. You can kill me in any room but the bathroom.
Hey, I'm doing the podcast in a closet, so we're good. Oh gosh.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
but the thing is, you volunteered to go into the closet. So the question is, are you going to volunteer to come out of the closet?
Oh gosh. It's quiet in here. It's like my
Mm.
only peaceful spot.
That's actually kind of scary because you would think the peaceful spot would be the bathtub and the bathroom because nobody is supposed to come in there while you're in there.
Oh gosh. Not when you got kids. It's bad.
Mental note, changing that repertoire. Like the bathroom, we're going for the closets.
Yeah.
Sanctuary will become a closet.
Yeah. There we go. Nobody bothers my closet, so hey.
So where is some places that you've been to and are like, I can't believe I've been here and got to experience this?
Like my top favorites?
Yeah.
Um, oh gosh. Let's see, probably Trans-Allegheny was a huge one. Um, just because, well, that place is beautiful. The uh building itself is a beautiful building, and then you get into the history of it. That and then that place is crazy haunted. Like there's all sorts of stuff there. Like Amber and I were by ourselves and we saw a shadow figure and stuff, and neither one of us could deny it. Like we went over there and measured exactly where we saw it and how high it was without telling each other, and we were like, oh yeah, saw the same thing, you know. Um, but that place is probably on my top, and Fairfield County Infirmary, that's on my top. Love that place. Um, Gosh, there's a bunch of them
Yeah.
that are just
Mm.
really beautiful places.
I just realized we're 3 minutes over the hour. So are you okay to go a little bit longer or do you need to go?
No, we can go a little bit longer. That's fine.
Okay. Oh, your team has brought up an interesting one.
Oh, yeah.
I've
Yeah.
heard about Lake Shawnee and I had an opportunity to do a live virtual investigation of Lake Shawnee, but it didn't pan out. I think
Oh.
I had a conflict and couldn't do it, but I was like, but I've heard of it.
Oh, yeah. Lake Shawnee is really cool too. That was, that one's cool because it's outside and it's like you got the cool little amusement park that's been abandoned, and it's a really neat area. And then you have the Native American burial ground and stuff. Oh, it's just a very, very pretty area. And then it makes investigating really different because usually you're indoors and you're in a building, and then you have to kind of tweak what you do because you're outdoors and doing it. So it kind of, you got to tweak your investigating style. Oh, see, there's Amber.
So what's her nickname? Just Amber?
It's just Amber with her. She's Amber, I'm just little Amber. I happen to be very tiny, so I'm only like 5 foot tall
Really?
compared to everybody else. Yeah, I'm very, very tiny.
Wow.
So yeah.
She says we got tall and small.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious with Lake Shawnee, like you were mentioning the amusement park aspect. I've seen it in a lot of horror movies and like paranormal shows.
Mhm.
Is the way they depict it like so super creepy and everything really how it is, or do they like do some effects to it to make it more so than it really is?
Um, well, my personal opinion, I don't find much creepy. I find it, I guess, more beautiful than creepy. But it looks, I guess to some people it could be creepy because it is where it's got all the vines and stuff that come up and surround it, and it's rusted and old and everything. And like the swings and stuff do have like stuffed animals and all these little objects that come off of it. So I guess to some people, yeah, it could look creepy when you go over there and look at it. But to me, I'm like, this is like beautiful in its own way. Like it looks like art to me.
No, no, I get that. I'm just like I'm stuck focused on stuffed animals on swings and being like, that is super creepy because with all the storms and wind that's gone through, those things are still there.
Yeah, well, they switch
Yeah.
them out.
Oh, people. I'm sitting here
Yeah.
thinking they're in the same location and never move, and I'm like, oh my god, that would creep the hell out of me. I'd be
Yeah,
like,
I
nope,
believe
I'm
they
out.
do. Yeah, I believe they do switch them out and that kind of stuff, and people will leave, stuffed animals and everything there, uh, with some of the stories.
Yeah. Amber says it really wasn't, or it wasn't really creepy in my opinion. The earth is trying to reclaim what was left, though. The burial ground side, to me, was much more a vibe. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm wondering, you know, do you think, and Amber, you can answer this too, do you feel that the burial grounds of like the indigenous people are more active when people build on it and ignore that they're there, or build next to it and say, "Hey, we have burial grounds here, so tread lightly."
Hmm.
Or do you notice a difference at all?
Well, I don't know, that was my first experience with one, so I'm not sure. Um, in my opinion, I would think that they would want it to be, like, left alone and not want people building around it and that kinda stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Sacred.
She says they were very protective when we were just walking there.
Yeah, that is true. It was almost like they were always watching over their land and that kinda stuff. So, just
Yeah.
very protective of all of it.
She says I don't have anything to compare it to, but they definitely wanted it respected. And
Right.
interesting that you guys put it that way because I don't normally share this with this show, but I'm going to actually share an experience that I had in France at Rennes la Chateau. I just love saying that. Rennes la Chateau. But I was going up there one night with my roommate while we were on a tour, and it was after hours. And we're climbing up the mountain to, the road path going up. And as we're going up, I'm hearing all this rustling in the small little tree areas or bush areas along the side of the road. And the closer we get, the faster you walk, the faster the sounds happen. So I'm like, something's tracking us, something is following us. And we get into eyesight of the city. And I go to my roommate and I said, we got to turn around. He's like, it's right here. I'm like, I know. We got to turn around. I'm not kidding. And so we turn around and we go back down and go check out some other ruins and go back and go to sleep. And the next night or two, or maybe it was 2 nights in between, I'm like, he goes and says, hey, let's go up, and check out Rennes le Chateau. And I'm like, all right. So we start climbing up and we sit down on this bench and we look. And I don't know if you've seen the movie The 13th Warrior.
Mhm.
The fireworm that they talk about. I
Yeah.
swear there was one coming down the mountain towards
Oh my
us,
gosh.
and I looked at my roommate and I was like, "You see that, right?" He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "We need to move. We're either going into town or we're going back. But that thing does not want us here, so we gotta go."
Oh
And as
gosh.
we're going up the pathway, I notice it's still coming, and it's walking through the trees. It's not going and following the path like we are coming towards us, and I'm like, of course, it's on the other side of a valley, but still, I'm like, these are spirits. They can move at any speed they want. I'm not waiting
Right.
to find out, if they got hyper mode or not. I'm like, we're going.
Oh, jeez.
So we get to the city gate area, entrance area, and I noticed there was no wrestling this time. And so we take photos at the rock at the entrance that says Rennes La Chateau. And we're quietly walking through town because it's like midnight, being respectful of the people that live there and not
Right.
making noise. And behind every mountain is super well lit. And it's like, hearing like you guys talking about they're protecting the land. I feel like that's what
Mhm.
they were doing the first time we tried to get in the city was going, wait a minute, why are you guys here after hours? You shouldn't be here after hours.
Oh
And
gosh.
it's being like, you need to turn back, go home. You shouldn't be here. And the second
R
time they're like, yeah, you guys are okay. You guys listen to us. We'll let you through.
right. Oh, that's crazy, but awesome.
Yeah. And that was just the beginning of that experience. But Amber says a spirit actually walked us off the burial ground. Nothing electronic on me. Phone on airplane mode. Only power lines were quite a ways away, but nothing else around, and I tracked it with an EMF reader. Right next to
Yep,
me or slightly behind the whole way. Yep, I would say you were escorted.
yep. I was with her. I was right beside her. I watched her do that. That was actually a really neat experience to see that happen. So it was like, "Okay, let's escort you off."
Yeah.
But that was really cool to have happen. There was actually, once we got back into the park area, it was me and Amber too. We were standing there and I saw this like little black shadow run between us, and right as it ran between us, the EMF meter went off as well. I think I think she might have saw the shadow too. I'm not positive. She could tell us. But
Mm.
but yeah, it was amazing because it just hit real high and spiked between us and then ended. So I was like, that was, did you see it? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my
That
gosh,
was,
that's funny.
yeah, it was just really strange that it went like that, but it was awesome. It was a cool experience. And then when you have somebody with you that had like sees the same thing, it was like, ah, yes.
Did you feel him go by?
um, I did not feel him. I just saw him. So
Oh, she
yeah.
says, I thought it was my imagination, and you were like, nope, it was there.
Yeah. So
Energy, but not wind. Yeah. So there's a reason I was asking that, Amber. Both of
yeah.
you actually is I was on an investigation of a bridge about 45 minutes up the road from where I live. And I was in the parking lot. And so I'm standing in the middle. This way it was a lady. This way was a guy and we all were just chatting. Well, somebody on the bridge fired a gun into the air just to try and instigate. all of a
Right.
suddenly we saw a shadow figure run right at us and rush us right through us, and we felt them go right by, and we looked at each other, we're like, you felt and saw that, right? And we're like, yeah. And that was
Oh my
like
god.
3 or 4 years ago, and every time I see the guy that was on that investigation with, will
Yeah.
people will be like, "Oh, so you know this guy?" He's like, "Oh, we had a shadow bum rush us." That's like our favorite story to share, to be like, "Yeah, we know each other. We've experienced a shadow rush us."
Right. See, Amber, she actually feels things like all the time and that kind of stuff. She gets touched a lot and can feel it all a lot. Yeah. Right. We unfortunately me, I have neuropathy so bad that I can't tell if I'm getting touched or if I'm just tingling because that's my neuropathy. So I'm like, I can't tell the difference. I have walked through cobwebs before that isn't there. So those kind of things I could tell the difference with. It's like, oh, yep, that's energy. That's my cobwebs.
Yeah.
So,
So
but yeah.
what's this about getting chased at Tala?
Yeah, that's Trans-Allegheny. So,
Oh, okay.
this one's really funny. So, me and Amber wandered off by ourselves because Phillip left us. So we were like, okay,
Wait,
let's
wait.
go off by ourselves.
You say you wandered off, and then you say Philip left you. So who left who here?
So, I think Phillip just left us and we were said, okay, and then we wandered. So
Okay.
I think
I just
that's how
wanted
it
to.
happened.
Oh,
So yeah.
I think Philip has said y'all left me.
I still like to say he took off and we couldn't find him, so we wandered around.
All right. So we've
But
established now y'all split.
right. So we Amber like opened up this door to a hallway and she said, "Nope." And I said, "That means yes." So we yeah, like so we decided so I pretty much said, "Let's go down the hallway." And she goes, "Fine, but I got a bad feeling." And I go, "Exactly. So that's why we're going to go down this hallway." Cuz she picks up on energy so much and I'm kind of more I'll see something instead of picking up on it. So we start walking down this hallway and it's this like really dark hallway. When we're walking down, we get to the end and she goes, "We should turn around." I said, "I think you're right. We should." So we ended up turning around and you could start hearing footsteps behind us and you could feel it. And we're like walking and she was like, "I think it's following us." I was like, "You're right. Don't turn around." That kind of thing. So we ended up pretty much being chased out of this hallway by something that was right behind us the entire time. And it chased us all the way up until we met up with the other people that were in our group with us. It did not leave us alone. And I think we ended up getting turned around, if I'm not positive. I think we thought that we were up on the third floor, but we ended up on the top floor. Like we got turned around in that place because we got chased. But it was crazy, crazy because I mean, literally, yeah, it didn't want us there. Or maybe it did, and we just didn't want to be there. One of the two. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about her, but I could literally hear it breathing behind us. Yeah, floor higher than we thought.
And my takeaway from this is, if I ever feel like I'm in a horror movie situation and I'm with you two, when you say let's go this way, I'm going the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, she's real good at knowing not to go down that way, but I'm usually the one that goes, "Let's go. I feel like it'll be an adventure." And it's usually that's what ends up happening. So, oops.
Rule one: don't leave Philip.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Whenever like Philip ends up leaving, more stuff happens. I don't know why, but more stuff ends up happening when Philip leaves. So,
Well, there is some talk about how some people may be overprotective of, energy wise, or just something about their energy that they can't use or interact with. And so they're considered spirit downers, to where the spirits are like, we can't interact with you, we're out. And
right.
when they leave, they're like, oh, good, we can play with these people. Let's go back.
Right. Now it's so funny with Philip because he's a protector, but whenever we do like spirit box sessions or Estes or something, they always holler for him. So I don't know why.
Who knows what goes on in the spirit world? Except for the
Right.
avatar. We all need an avatar. Amber says there was just a horrible wave of energy that felt like it was on my heels the whole way out of that area. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And yet, little Amber wants to go in and go towards that wave.
It's part of investigating. I like to investigate it all.
Actually, that's true. I can't argue that point.
Right? I mean, she felt energy, so I was like, let's go do it. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, it wasn't very friendly.
Technically, that's what we are there for.
Right. I mean, that was like when me and my son, we were up at Fairfield and we were just sitting there kind of running the spirit box and that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, there was this huge bang that happened out in the other room. And we kind of looked at each other and I was like, well, let's go, you know? And he was like, okay. And we had walkie talkies at the time, and I had left mine in that room. He had his on him. And so we got up, and when we left, we had a little cat ball there. And we were already far away from this cat ball, and the cat ball went off. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of strange. But we still left because I wanted to figure out what that loud noise was. So I started like looking around. I'm like, okay, did one of these wood planks fall over? Did something fall over in this little attic area? Nothing. Could not find a source of this bang anywhere. But while we were out there searching, all of a sudden, my son's walkie-talkie went off. Like it just went off and started doing this static thing. Now, whether it picked up something from another channel or whatever, I don't know. But my walkie-talkie was sitting in the other room and it didn't go off. It didn't do anything strange. So it was just like a series of weird coincidences or paranormal. So,
Well,
of course, I ran toward the bang too. So,
actually, I would run towards the bang myself, so I'm with
right.
you on that one.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
I run towards voices and bangs, but energies that feel dark, no.
Yeah, I run toward it all apparently. So, I'm going to figure it all out.
So Derek has mentioned he filmed a deer the other night right by his house, and an orb was above the deer. That's cool.
That is cool. Huh.
Gotta make sure it's not a live person. On the radio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even the one that did the bang.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Make sure nobody was in there. That could be scarier.
Oh, I know because I was on an investigation and we were in a common area of a cell of 3 cells
Mhm.
where they had the facilities, and we're all standing there and we're talking and asking questions, and this loud bang just goes off. And we could not for the life of us figure out what caused the bang. It's like everything we banged on in the area we were in wasn't exact. We could get close, but not exact. And
Right.
so it was like, that was weird.
Right. Jeez.
But I love when those happen because it's like, especially when you get it caught on equipment, because then you're like, yeah, somebody proved this wrong.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get that loud bang caught on anything. We were just sitting up there in the dark, basically, just kind of letting him experience that. So
You
yeah,
know,
sometimes it's fun.
yeah, we don't catch everything.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes it's because I was just kind of teaching. It was more of a teaching moment for him.
Yeah. Derek says if you want to see a photo, it's on his channel under community post. Okay.
Awesome.
So we're getting close to the hour and a half already now. Wow. Time's flying.
Yeah, it is.
So where can people find you if they want to get to, hear more about your experiences and stuff? Or
um,
at your show. You have a show, don't you?
well, we have a YouTube channel and um Facebook page and I don't know. Look, you guys can help me out with this. Where can they find us? Help me out, guys.
I like Amber's description skills. Yeah, we got a bang bang, bang bang, bang. One time on camera. It was louder in person, but awesome. I think it's on our YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah. Her description is amazing.
Oh, Derek, if I had a moderator, I'd be having to teach them what to do. So it's easier if I just do it right now. But yeah. Amber says we have a link tree with all our socials. Well,
There we
Amber,
go.
hook the fella up and I'll put it in the description and everybody can find it then. Send it to Amber. Amber will send it to me, or Amber, tell her what my Facebook page is and send me a friend request, and then you can send it to me.
Yeah, there we go.
Don't you love how complicated social media
You're
is now?
right. And I'm horrible at technology, so
Hey, you at least stayed in the show. Look at me. I left my own show.
right.
So, which one of us is really less technically advanced here?
Hey, I left in the beginning, so
Yeah, but we hadn't actually gone live yet.
right. That was when I learned not to touch any more buttons. So
Yeah, that's when you learn the button that has an X that's red that says leave studio is not the button to push to start.
right. Oops.
No, but hopefully we can get you back on and maybe even bring your team up with you.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, oh, they're already sending me links. I'll send you those links. Uh,
Phil. I like Phil. Or red means go.
yeah,
You
my team's
know,
awesome.
there there is a world according to sliders where red does mean go and green means stop.
Yeah, there we
So
go.
maybe that's the timeline that Amber came from.
Probably. I would assume everything's backwards in my world, so hey.
No, it's been a real joy having you on. And if you oh, he says I saw that in Doctor Strange. And Amber says, like, when Amber says no and little Amber means go, why do I feel like this is starting to turn into like Dr. Seuss and everything is gonna start rhyming now?
That's usually how it works.
No.
Uh,
Actually, if you guys send me put the link tree in the link, I can copy and paste it and put it on the screen for everyone, and so they can have it if you guys so feel inclined.
yeah.
But with that being said, up. Good night, Derek. Oh, Amber says it's in comments. Okay. All right. I'll take your word for it because I'm not seeing it. So I'll take your word that it's there. And curious why I'm not seeing it, but that's cool. No worries as long as it's there. But I I'm so curious where this is gonna go. But I like to ask my guests at the end from their life experience, no matter what topic you want to pull from. Doesn't have to be something we talked about. Your life experience, whatever that could be, is they probably are. What is a golden nugget you would like to leave the audience with?
Oh gosh. Um. Oh, this is hard.
That's why I said you could pull from anything. It doesn't have to be paranormal. It doesn't have to be investigation wise. Anything. Phillip says everything is a demon. Or not everything is a demon. Sorry. Little dyslexia there.
That's actually what was going through my head, but dang, Phillip. Um, I don't know. I mean, that's one of them. Um, but
Let's see if
I
Amber beats
guess
you to it.
I guess with the way that everything is going with the world today, just if everybody could act more out of love and kindness because you don't know what anybody's going through, then hey, that could be good.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. Sorry, I was laughing because Amber goes, llamas keep demons away. I'm like, that is completely random. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go get a llama, but it's good to know if I find one of those to go find a llama somewhere.
It's our little running jokes.
No, but I agree with you. And so I am going to say goodnight to everyone and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And if you're asleep, trust me, you're going to want to wake up and watch this episode. It'll totally set your day right. And with that being said, take each day and fill it with love and light. And as Amber well said, you know, treat everyone with joy and laughter because, yeah, we don't know what people are going through. So, you know, don't judge until you ask them what's going on. All right. So I will take a look at that. And with that, I'm going to say good night wherever you are in the world. And I will add that for you, Amber, and
No,
to
right.
all the locations that I can. So thank you again. And hopefully, we'll get you all back on, or Amber back on, and you all can join her.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
All right. So before I click myself out of the show again, I am going to start the outro. Good night,
All right.
everyone.
Good night.